G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video. So here we go, we're at a different sort of combination this week for Race C. We are in Group 1 around Maggiore GP, and this is my qualifying lap, so have a look at that while I actually talk about the combination. So, as previously mentioned, it was a Race C a few weeks ago. As per usual, you know, can't seem to get these two quite as quick as I would like to, but we go on with it anyway. We're in Group 1, of course, so it's the fastest sort of race car category in the game. It's got different sorts of cars in Group 1, actually. So you've got your LMP1 cars, your VGT cars, and the Group C cars, all in one group together called Group 1. They're all supposed to be balanced, but they're absolutely not. So Group 1, or LMP1, sorry, is more of, I'm driving an LMP1 car right now. This is sort of, when you think Group 1, this is sort of the type of cars you think. Prototypes, smooth, slippery bodies, lots of downforce, some have hybrid. This particular car doesn't, but some do have hybrid systems. You can go, I don't know, around over 300 kilometers an hour. But that's about it. VGT cars, so they're part of the Vision Gran Turismo program, so that's where Gran Turismo contacted manufacturers and said, you know what, design a crazy car and we'll put it in the game. And that's where some of them, so they have typically, they usually don't have hybrid and they have crazy top speed but rather slow acceleration. And Group C are sort of 1970s, 1980s prototype cars from Le Mans, so they're like the old versions of these basically, and they have rapid top end speed but can't quite handle corners like these Group 1, like the LMP1 cars can. But we just crossed the line there with the qualifying time of a 1:38.0. Now, this particular combination was actually a good combination for me. I don't mind driving these LMP1 cars. They have good downforce. The only real problem was coming out of turn 2 on this track here. The rest of the corners are actually okay for me. So turn 2, I think it was a second gear corner, first or second gear corner, and of course you can see the turbo pressure gauge in the bottom right of the corner, bottom right corner of the screen there. And yeah, so you'll see, I'll go up to turn 2 in a second, in about 15 seconds time, and you'll see the gear that I choose. But I did struggle coming out of there, and I did have a few moments coming out of there, but that was really all. I was quite good around the rest of the track, and as you can see, I back up that statement by putting it on pole, and that was a genuine pole, so I did quite a few qualifying times. We immediately get overtaken by another car there. Probably, what is it? I think, is that a Porsche? I think it might be a Porsche. That's turn 2 that I just came out of there. You see I get a little bit of a squirm on the way out. And I think that car behind is a Porsche. That car does have hybrid, so that's why it's able to accelerate just so quickly. In fact, you see the gap coming out of that corner, 8 tenths. It might, yeah, see it's closing down 7.5 tenths, pretty much 6 tenths by the end of that little straight there, going into turn 5. This corner here is so weird in these cars, really. Because you can get on the power intake fine, but the car going uphill, it just understeers so much. I think you're better off waiting to get on the power bit. And then you've got this Acer section now, going to load of that curb on the inside, going through turn 8 there. We'll get up through turn 10 onto the back straight, through turn 11. So this is the big banky boy, the big banked corner in the game. It's an absolutely amazing corner. You see braking just before the end of that concrete barrier, and half the car on the curb. In third gear and accelerate out. Then we go up to another Acer sections, turn 12 now, and turn 13. You can actually take a lot of grass on those, pretty much both those corners there. And then we have the top hook section. I like this corner. I'm really good through this corner. I love that corner there. Almost, pretty much, probably more than turn 11. So that's turn 14 that I like. And then this is turn 16, down towards the final corner, turn 17 of Maggiore GP. We'll go through a lap a bit better in more detail later, but you can see by the end of the first lap we are 1.5 seconds up from the guy in second, Honda C2R, and we start lap 2. So race C, this is a more traditional race C where you can go, it's a pit stop about halfway, of course 11 laps. I'm going to pit on the end of lap 6 here, and basically just fuel save a little bit so you spend minimal time stationary in the pit lane. I think there is the option for a no stop, but I don't think that's quite the right strategy. As you can see, we go into the pits now. So I've gone for the Audi R18. There's actually 3 different types. I don't remember which one I picked actually. might be the R18 TDI, I think. Because there's a TDI, there's an R18, an R18 TDI, and an R18 TDI Le Mans. All in Group 1. But I think I've gone for the TDI. So on the exit of the pit lane, or the end of my pit phase, you can see I've actually been overtaken. I'm now in second place. I was in pretty much firmly about 6 seconds ahead in first place. So this guy, Kazuri, is actually going for a no stop. So he's chosen to sort of fuel save and tyre save throughout the whole race to be able to eliminate the pit stop altogether in order to do a no stop. So of course I'm sort of driving pretty much at 100%, probably 95%. It's usually how you race during the race, at 95%, because if you drive at 100% you make too many mistakes. That's why qualifying is often very, very messy. So this guy ahead of me, his idea is to get out ahead while I'm in the pits and then try and maintain that lead. But you can see I'm just catching quite quickly, breaking into the turn 11 there. You can see we actually gained like 3-4 tenths through that one corner alone. We were, it's extended out the gap a little bit, but we were 3.1 seconds and then we were 2.7 seconds just on the exit of the corner. But he must be in the Porsche, which has that hybrid assistance, so that's why he's able to streak out the gap. Through turn 14, we're 2.5 seconds, turn 15, and into turn 16, 2.4 seconds. You see how quickly I'm gaining on. At this point, I realise there's absolutely no way he's going to be able to hold me off. Once I get up to him, it's going to be pretty easy to go past, considering that he would be having to fuel save massively at this point, or having to fuel save at any point in the race, because that's the nature of a no-stop. Through turn 1, hop over that curb, just dips under 2 seconds the gap between us, 1.8 seconds now between us. This is turn 2, you can see I just get that little bit of oversteer on the exit there. It's really hard to get that corner right. You get a little bit of grass through turn 4 and into turn 5 on turn 4, sorry, onto the back straight. It was turn 3 previously. So you can see, have a look, there's someone actually pitting on the end of lap 8. I think that's a bit too late. So of course 11 laps you can pit on the end of lap 5 or the end of lap 6, because half of 11 is 5.5, so you got to pit on the end of 5 or the end of 6, depending on whether you want to get an undercut or overcut. I went on the end of lap 6, so that's an undercut. So going in on lap 8, you probably just spend a little bit too much time on worn tyres, and of course that means your second stint is shortened, so you don't spend as much time. But of course the advantage of that is throughout the whole second stint you have got a tyre advantage over the entire field, but it pretty much counters the loss of time at the end of the first stint. Going into the top section now, we're pretty much within slipstream of this guy, and we'll go through turn 14. You can just see how much more time we gain. Going into here, he just drops a wheel on the grass on the outside and absolutely bins it. And you can see I went a little bit wide through there as well, as I was quite distracted. So you can see pressure was on as soon as I reached him. Bin. Immediate bin. And you can see I was quite dominant in this race. But we'll go through a lap of this track now in detail. So here we go, on the run up to turn 1, you want to brake just before the shadow, on the end of the shadow there, in second gear for turn 1. Keep it tight, and then you get a better run through turn 2. It's a first gear, drop to first gear, slowly on the power, we get a nice run out of there actually. Third gear, a little bit of a lift through turn 3. You want to keep it tight through there so you get a good run through turn 4. Second gear, you want to actually take a lot more curb than that. A little bit of a slide on the way out. You can actually extend that corner quite a bit to get a good time through there. But turn 5, braking just after the end of the curb there. Third gear, trail it in. That was actually a nice line through there. That was a very good line actually, and you can just see the car just hooks in once the downforce kicks in. S is now turn 6. You want a third gear, feather the throttle a little bit, and it's flat out through here. Turn 4, you take a load of that curb through turn 8 and 9 to keep it flat out. If you don't take quite as much curb through turn 8 there, you won't be able to get it flat out. You'll go too wide before turn 9. Back straight now, we're going to brake just sort of on the black box before the end of the concrete on the left hand side, half the car in there. You can take second or third gear through there. I think third gear is a bit better to keep your momentum up. S's section now, come in nice and wide to keep it on the left hand side so you get a good racing line through turn 13. Turn 14, brake just before the 50, trail it in. Probably just turned in a little bit early. You can use the curb on the outside and do pretty much the same thing again. You probably want to use second gear for that particular corner there, but we get through there nicely. Final turn, brake just on the end of the curb, trail it in. You can get on the power really early because of the wide exit there, and then it's a straight sprint to the line and we're going to see a lap time of a 1:39.1. That's actually the fastest lap of the race at the moment, and that is the start of lap 10 as well. You can see that's really where we sat from here to the end of the race. We were 10 seconds ahead of the guy in second, and by 2 laps later we were 19 seconds ahead. Oh, and I can confirm I've gone for the plain Audi R18. I can now see it. I couldn't remember before. I thought it was the TDI, but it is not. But you can see the sort of mix of cars. There's a few R18s actually, and the guy in second was actually in a Toyota TS050. I think that must have hybrid, I guess, because he was gaining on me coming out of slow corners. And you can see that's pretty much it. There was an Audi VGT down the order a bit, but the VGT cars aren't really that great. But you can see a victory, a 3-star result, pole position, fastest lap, and a clean race, and it's a win. So I was very happy with that particular performance there. And you can see we'll move on to the next race. So here we go. We're going to have another go in Daily Race C in Group 1. Of course, we are on second position now. I've gone for a different livery. You can see them flashing my headlights there. I keep the old qualifying time of 1:38.0, and the guy ahead of 1:37.0, so he's a full second quicker than me, and I really don't think this is going to translate into a victory unless he has a massive bin or drops out halfway through the race. But we'll see how this race goes. We'll see how close we can be to the front of the field. We get lunged into turn 1 by, I think that's a Toyota TS030, driven by Cody there, and we'll accelerate out of turn 2. You can just see how much he streaks away. So those Toyotas, they must have hybrid, I guess. Second gear, you can see just how much curb you can take and get on the power really early and see what you can extend the corner. I wasn't quite doing that in the previous races. I wasn't exactly 100% sure whether I could do it or not. But we go into turn 5. So these pair ahead of me, they've actually got out a nice gap in the opening stages of the race. We went a little bit wide through turn 5, but it's all right. You can just see, because of the slow corners at the start of the lap, actually, Cody bins it coming through the Acer section. So, of course, those advantages he gained going past me at the opening stages, completely undone by a massive bin. You can see he's dropped right off the leaderboard. Not, of course, because if you bin it on the opening lap, the field is so close together that they can all pass you at once. Oh, that is quite humorous. So now it's just, because I lost time in the opening stages, you can just see I'm 1.7 seconds behind the guy in the lead. He's in another Audi, I think, an Audi R18, just almost lose it by touching the grass, coming up the back straight, or the top straight, I guess. But pretty much, the guy is he is a lot quicker than me, 2.3 seconds ahead. I really don't think that I'm going to be able to have any gains. But through the last half of the lap, the guy behind me, Slalis1, remains about 1.3 seconds, but I just went a little bit wide on the exit of turn 17, and he just gets back into slipstream range. I just brake a little bit too late, slide it through turn 1. He's now 9/7 tenths behind, 6 tenths behind as we get a massive oversteer moment at the exit of turn 2. So this is what tends to happen with me. I make one mistake and then worry too much about the guy behind, and then I end up making more mistakes trying to undo my mistake there. But you can just see how wide I went on the exit of turn 4, and there's no penalty out of that, so just see how much you can actually extend that corner. We get a nice punt going into turn 5, and that means we go a little bit wide, but because he went into the back of us, he loses all his momentum and is not able to craft an overtake through here. And we go through the SS section now. He's 5 tenths behind. You can see we go a little bit wide through turn 8. You can just see we have to lift before going onto the back straight. But you can see we remain flat out actually, and you can see just how quick he's gaining on the outside. And I think he's in a Peugeot that must also have hybrid assistance. And we brake into turn 11. We just look up the inside, but it's not going to be enough. He manages to make the move stick around the outside. And unfortunately, that means we are demoted into second position. It's got to be into third position, sorry. It's got to be fourth in a second. There's someone up my inside also, but he brakes just a little bit early, and I'm able to keep the position around the outside, and we keep the podium position. So the first few laps of this race haven't been going too well. I'm 7 seconds behind the leader, and we were only a second off a lap on him, so you can just see how much time we lose going back in the field. Of course, I'm fuel saving a little bit. I didn't fuel save I pretty much didn't fuel save at all in the previous race, and I probably had to spend a little bit too much time stationary in the pit lane. But I have decided I'm going to just short shift a little bit through here to save up a bit of fuel. But going into turn 1 of lap 4, I completely missed the braking point. Well, not completely, I'll just brake just a little bit too late, and because these cars go so fast, you can just see how much I miss it, and then that translates to being too narrow on the entry to turn 2, and you can just see how much I bin it there. And trying to get going again, I just spin it round again. So once these cars sort of stop, they're so hard to get going. You can just see I flick on some traction control to get going. You can see the traction control working to get the car moving again. And we've dropped right down into 10th position, so we're back with Cody. So we lost a similar amount of time that he did spinning out on lap 1 in the Acer section, but he's just streaked away a second, pretty much a second coming out of turn 4. Of course, probably assisted by his hybrid system there. We get lunged by Nick Bergs going into turn 5, and that sees us demoted into 11th position. So yeah, so this race isn't really going too well, actually. But you can just see Nick sort of gets it a bit out of shape going through the Acer section. We managed to go up the inside on turn 9, around the outside through turn 10, and that means we get that position back. So his attempt at overhauling me is in futility, as I managed to get right back past. Now up ahead, there's the Alpine VGT and another LMP1 car fighting. The Alpine nearly went up the inside. We get a nice pun in the rear end by Nick going up through here. Probably could have worked out how to get around me, but didn't do that. And you see the Alpine has actually got a half-second penalty through that. I'll brake a little bit too late, and he goes up the inside. Nick goes up the inside of the pair of us together. We end up 3 wide momentarily at the apex of, or the exit of turn 14. You can just see how much of a gap Nick has got ahead of the pair of us. But this Alpine will serve the penalty on the coming lap, coming out of turn 4. And we'll probably get that position back, provided he doesn't streak out too much more of a gap on me. But this is where those VGT cars are really strong in a straight line. They don't have quite the best acceleration in the lower gears, but you can see he goes really wide through turn 1 and through turn 2, and you get a much better line through there, and that means we're able to get on the power much earlier than him. We can just see he's starting to serve that penalty now. But yeah, as I was saying, they don't have the acceleration that these LMP1 cars have in like first and second gear, but they have the very good top end. So on a track like Le Mans, you probably do want a VGT car over an LMP1 car because of that top speed advantage. But we overtake him going into that penalty zone, and we managed to streak out a gap of about 6/10 coming out of turn 5. We just look behind just to see where he is at that stage, and you can see we're firmly ahead a few laps later. So lap 6 now, we're pretty much in the same position, still trying to recover from that spin on the start of lap 4. But you can see the guy in second, he's into the pits with 34% of fuel, and look down to my fuel, I'm 34% now. So my attempts at fuel saving probably haven't been great. The guy in third place goes in with 49% of fuel. He's done a great job at fuel saving, and considering he's quite close to the front as well, he's probably in contention for a podium position, definitely at least. We go into the pits, we're on 32% of fuel. Some people around us, 39, 36, 46% of fuel from Morris behind. He's done a good job in shake and bake. He is in the Alpine VGT that had that penalty, 35% of fuel. So despite my attempts at fuel saving a little bit, I actually haven't done a great job compared to the guys behind us. We fill up to 61% of fuel, just enough to get the car home. So we've actually got 5 laps to go, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 5 laps, and we've filled up to about 5.3 laps worth of fuel. So that means we don't have to worry about fuel saving at all. We might as well grab the fuel while we're in the pit lane, even though it does lose us a little bit of time. But this guy in 12th, he's actually not got a great run through the opening stages of that lap, and we just see how closely behind we sweep past his bumper going into turn 4, and you can see we go defensive as he gets the run on us. He's around the outside. He's going to be able to get the move around the outside through turn 5. I don't think so. We just park it on the apex, get on the power nice and early because we have that car pointed exactly where we want it. You're going to see how much of a gap we get out, a few tenths in the exit of that corner. Then going into the Banky Boy of lap 8, we now managed to get ourselves into a little bit of a pack here. So there's a few cars, 2 or 3 cars ahead of us, that we're going to have to try and navigate through the latter stages of the race. We've got the bright fluorescent yellow LMP1 car here. We managed to just slip up the inside in what is a very, very quick move by me, and it looks like we're going to be able to do the same thing on Tricky Brewer just ahead of us. as the sun reflects off his car, almost blinding me there. But he just catches the grass in the entry to turn 17 and is not able to get on the power quite as quickly as me. We just have no choice but to get out of it, as I'm already steering as much as I can, so there's no way I could have gone around it. But we're up the inside into turn 1. So that's 2 moves within half a lap. That's very good. Almost get a nice punt going into turn 2, but we want to get a nice run through there, so that's why we went in quite early. And now we have our sights set on 9th place in the 9th lap. So he goes wide through turn 4. Let's see if we can stick into that slipstream. I'm not sure what car he's in, but I don't think it has that hybrid, as he doesn't streak out that gap that I would expect a car with hybrid to streak out, unless his batteries are flat, of course. Going into turn 5, he's very wide. You can just see how much more momentum I'm able to get by not going wide through there. It probably won't quite work. Acer section now, 4 tenths ahead of this guy in 10th. Let's hope he doesn't put on the re-overtake to us, as we set our sights firmly on trying to finish in 9th. So we're about 5 seconds ahead of Nick Bergs. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get that gap up within 3 laps, 9, 10, 11. But we skip ahead a lap later. We actually streak out that gap on Kaio, the guy in 10th, a little bit. But just look up ahead. What is that going on? It is alien. It's an alien UFO, unidentified flying object, as we go through turn 11 there, 3.9 seconds behind Cam. He's switching positions with Nick Bergs, actually, so I think might be, just judging by the Wi-Fi strength bars, I think Nick Bergs has got a very, very bad case of lag, as we see him. Yeah, he definitely has. Look at that, switching all over the place, putting the switchback overtake on us, going through turn 17, where he's basically inside us going into turn 1. So this is actually quite a worry when you come up with a racer like this. So they can sort of glitch into you. If they sort of go into you and then lag off the track, the game thinks, oh, you pushed him off, and I could get a penalty for it. But I'm not quite sure at all where he is on the track because of the lag. So I've just got to stick to my racing line and hope that he can see me on his screen and not drive into me. But in what is a very embarrassing turn of events, I've actually managed to catch up 5 seconds, and he's lost again pretty much 3.5 seconds. So he's lost basically 8.5 seconds in the course of half a lap, which is really not great on his half, I'm not going to lie. And that's probably, I mean, if you look at my pace, putting in 140s, it's not exactly quick. You can see the guy in first has got a 139.2, but yeah, so he's obviously not having a good time, probably distracted by his own lag, to be honest. But on the last half of this lap, you can just see how close we've actually gotten to Cam, the guy in 7th. So at this point, about a third of a lap to go, I've decided, you know what, let's see how close we can get. Let's see, because you can kind of get an overtake through turn 17. So if we can get close enough through this section, which I know I'm pretty strong at compared to the rest of the field, we might actually be able to get 7th here. We actually go a little bit wide through turn 14. I think that just kind of eliminates any chance of going for an overtake here. And this is pretty much, I can do this thanks to that little bit of extra fuel that I put in. So you remember I had 5.3 going through the final corner. I get on the power really early, but he goes in way narrow in the slipstream. But you can just see he just starts swerving. But we're not going to reach him by the line, so it doesn't matter anyway. But if we had another lap to go and he was swerving on the straight, that is absolutely not allowed. That is such a dirty defense move there. But we managed to bring it home in 8th. Considering we binned it down to like 10th or 11th, 8th is probably an okay recovery. I think if you have a massive bin, top 10 is pretty much a good target, I think. And I've done that. 8th position. I'm happy with the sort of latter stages of that race there. I was able to sort of catch up to some guys pretty quickly, and that would probably be courtesy to probably them under fueling and having to fuel save a lot. When you start fuel saving, you can kind of drive a bit differently because it's not how you're used to driving, and that can often lead to mistakes. Also, having very bad lag can distract you. But that is where I'm going to leave Group 1 at Maggiore. I was quite happy overall with the performance. That race probably wasn't too good, but I'll take it anyway. But that is going to be the end of the video, so I do urge you to hit that like button if you like my content to let me know. I also urge you to click subscribe if you'd like to see amazing videos like this in your subscription box every week. But that is it from today's video, and that means that is it from me. And once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.